So did Switch 2 sales explode following Sony's blunder on physical media? Well, that's something that people are kind of throwing around online, and I wanted to research it when it comes to the actual information that we can get. Sure, you can look at social media, you can look at pictures, and you can say, oh yeah, people are buying this or people are buying that based off of things, but we need data, we need sales numbers, we need other things to actually back that up, and we don't have it right now. But I did go and take a little look, so we're gonna look at that to see if there's any truth to what's going on there. We also got a pretty big positive update, it seems, at least, on Metaphor ReFantazio for the Nintendo Switch 2. We got to talk about that game because apparently it's targeting a pretty good frame rate, and we've got updates and details when it comes to Dragon Quest XI-S on the Nintendo Switch 2. But before we continue, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 at 140,000 subscribers or on September 1st, whichever comes first. Subscribe, like, comment. The winner will be chosen at random, and it's a worldwide giveaway. Thanks, peeps. Okay, let's start off here. There was a post over on Twitter that I saw, and something that I've seen as well. It's not just based off of this, but I wanted to go into it, and it says, unusual following Sony's announcement of the dematerialization of games, or more like no more physical games, sales of the Nintendo Switch 2 have exploded. So I think that this person that's talking about this is not like any type of big account, although they have 10,000 followers, so maybe it is somebody kind of big, but I can't read it. It's a French account, so people know about this. Maybe it's a Pokemon site or something like that. Let me know. But either way, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, what they're trying to say is that based off of what's been happening with Sony, the fact that Sony decided to get rid of physical games and the big PR nightmare that is going on right now, more people are shifting over to the Nintendo Switch 2 because it does offer at least some solution for physical games. It's like a half solution when it comes to game keycards, and of course a full solution when it comes to the full game on cart, which there are multiple games and more games being announced that are full on cart. So have I seen more people pick up a Nintendo Switch 2 or opt to potentially buy a Nintendo Switch 2 because of the news with Sony? Yes, there are many people, millions of people that like physical games, that want to purchase physical games, people that want to own their games with a physical format. We're not talking about the potential of a license and something like that, or, oh, well, they can sue you, or you don't even own the disc. It's some, no. We're talking about actual, you can hold it, you can sell it, you can trade it, you can do that. They want to have that, regardless of it. That is what physical is, and the Nintendo Switch 2 offers a way for that. Like I said, part when it comes to the game key cards, because the game key cards are not tied to an account. They are tied to the actual card itself, but they're not full physical because you have to use the internet to download them. So they are reliant on a server. They're not reliant on the eShop for the Nintendo Switch 2. It doesn't come from the eShop. It comes from a server, which is why you can still re-download your Wii games, your Wii U games, your 3DS games. Despite all of those shops going offline, you can still re-download the games that you purchased because the server is still up, and it's been 20 years since the original Wii. So I don't think that the server for the Nintendo Switch 2 is going down anytime soon, if at all, as long as Nintendo is around as a company. But they also offer full physical games. So most of Nintendo's first party games that they develop, and the only game would be Pokemon Pocopia. That's on a game keycard, but they didn't develop that and they didn't publish that in Japan and in certain countries, just here in the US. So that's not really their game. But every other game that they've released, when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles, for example, when it comes to Star Fox, when we have upcoming games like Fire Emblem, all the games that they've had before, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Mario Kart World, these are all full on cart. You can open them up, you can put them in your Nintendo Switch 2 and they will play. Sure, are there downloads or updates for extra content or other things or for patches? Sure there are, but they all work right off of the cartridge when it comes to all of that. There are a number of games released and more games coming, like Oblivion Remastered, Orbitals, Lies of P, and more. So just keep that in mind. There's been some misinformation that's going on online about the physical games and all of that, and how Donkey Kong Bonanza, some people were trying to say that Donkey Kong Bonanza is a game keycard. It's not. Nintendo labels the game keycards. It says right there on the bottom of it, game keycard. So you know if it's a game keycard because on the box it will tell you if it's a game keycard. Plus there's websites that also track game keycards very easily. Are people actually purchasing Switch 2 more because of it? we have to wait and see. We have to kind of see how the sales numbers play out, especially for like July. I think that would be a big indicator. If there is a big bump or year on year or something like that when it comes to Switch 2, or it's been like one of the higher months, then you know that there was probably some type of significant bump that the Nintendo Switch got because of the announcement of Sony getting rid of physical games. Now, I looked on Amazon and I saw kind of like what was going on there, and that's not reflective because they do it over the last month or so, so that's not reflective of the new announcement from Sony, but there has been an uptick in sales. 30K plus for the standard Nintendo Switch 2, which that was at around 20K for the previous month, and then 10K plus when it comes to the buyers in the central area with the Nintendo Switch 2 Choose Your Game bundle. So 40K plus total, so that's significantly better than the Xbox Series and the PlayStation 5 on Amazon. So at least in there, Amazon Switch 2 is definitely the top system by a good amount. A lot of the best-selling games on Amazon are also Nintendo Switch 2 games. A lot of these games are Nintendo first-party games that have the game full on cartridge. So just keep that in mind. There is some evidence to kind of point towards people saying, okay, well, maybe I will buy a Nintendo Switch 2, or I bought a Nintendo Switch 2. And some people are showing their pictures. So once again, doesn't say it 100%, doesn't mean that that's happening. But I do think that some people are definitely looking at Sony side-eyed and saying, well, maybe I won't support them going forward if they're not going to give me physical games, because obviously physical games are great. You can find deals on physical games. You can sell your physical games. You can lend them out to your friends. There's so many different things that you can do with physical games that would be obnoxious or hard with digital games. All we want is a way to actually own those games to where you can sell it, trade it, do what you want with it when it comes to that, and not have it tied to an account. Have it tied to the actual game itself. But once again, we will see what's happening when it comes to the sales and everything. But we'll also see what's happening when it comes to Metaphor ReFantazio. What's going on with this game? Is it better of a port than we initially thought? Because that first trailer for the game was a little bit rough, but I also think it was a live stream, so live streams are always like live streams. They don't look as good when it comes to the game itself when you see it on your own screen. And then on top of that, it's Metaphor ReFantazio. The game just isn't a really good looking game in general. It looks like a really nice PS3 game at times. That's what it reminds me of, and I think it maybe even started development on the PS3. I can't say for sure, but I know the development of this game was like a long time ago, and it went through a lot of changes over the course of its development. Keep that in mind with this. But anyway, let's get into it here. Super Nintendista over on Twitter talked about this, and they stated that Metaphor ReFantazio runs at 60 frames per second on the Nintendo Switch 2. The demo available at Anime Expo was tested only in docked mode and revealed an important detail. Without DLSS, the performance is reminiscent of the Xbox Series S with performance drops. This reinforces how crucial DLSS will be to maintain 60 FPS and deliver a much more stable experience on the Switch 2. Now it's just a matter of seeing what the performance will be like in the final version. So essentially, they're saying that it's like the Series S performance, which is 60 FPS with some drops here and there, but we still need to wait and see for the final version of the game because it is a demo and the game doesn't drop until November. So we do have a number of months before this game does drop, and demo stations and demo units are never the final build of the game. They're usually a pretty like months old version of the game, so it could be a lot better. So I think that Atlas is going to try to make sure that they don't make the same mistake that they made with Persona 3 Reload, and I think that they were trying to rush that game out. Actually, no, they admitted that they rushed that game out because they wanted to rush the game out so it didn't launch with the 60 FPS docked mode. So I'm guessing it's going to be something similar here, just without the time in between that it took to get the 60 FPS or targeting 60 FPS. So maybe Metaphor ReFantazio, which was my game of the year in 2024, by the way, and one of the best games reviewed for that year. I think it's a phenomenal JRPG, one of the best that I've ever played, so I highly recommend Metaphor. And many times when I was playing Metaphor ReFantazio on my PlayStation 5, I really wanted to play it portable because of the style of game that it is, and whenever I tried to use my PlayStation Portal, I just decided that I wanted to just play it on the TV because the Portal is just a frustrating experience. I don't like it at all on how it operates. I don't like streaming and all that type of stuff and putting the system to sleep and all that. It messes things up. I don't like it. I don't like the Portal. I don't like streaming. So for me, at least, having it native on the Nintendo Switch 2 would be so much better. Although I already put 160 hours into the game and made a video on it, so you guys can check that out if you want. But yeah, this game, 60 FPS would be great. I think that would be great for this game. It's a hybrid. It's an action RPG combined with turn-based RPGs. So you'll fight people on the overworld map or on the screen, and then you'll blast into like an actual turn-based battle. It's pretty innovative. It's fun. I like what they do there, and there's so much content in this game. And it has a great story, great characters, and it's just awesome. The music is also really good too. So I highly recommend Metaphor ReFantazio. It is 2 years after the original release, so many people probably played it that wanted to play it, but there's a lot of Nintendo fans that opted to not buy the game and said they'll wait for the Switch 2 version. And I think that you will be pleasantly surprised, especially if they can get the performance and the level of the game up to the standards of the Xbox Series S, or maybe even a bit better than that using some of the modern architecture and stuff. I think it'd be really good for this game. It's a fun game though. It's awesome. It is turn-based too, so even if they don't get it up to that, you can still probably enjoy it pretty good with the turn-based battles, because once again, there's action RPG elements to it, but the action RPG segment of the game is definitely more light. Where all the depth comes from is the actual turn-based battles. So you kind of just really use the action RPG to get into the meat and the potatoes of the battle system, which is the turn-based battle system. So very good. Although there is a lot of stuff to do in the action RPG segment, though. There is stuff that you can do, and you can beat enemies just straight up with the action RPG combat too once you get strong enough. So there is that. But either way, very excited for Metaphor ReFantazio to finally come out on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think Nintendo fans are going to enjoy the game. I know I'm going to check it out. I don't know if I'm going to go through the full game again because I've already beaten it, but I might check it out just to see how it runs, see how it plays, and of course give more of my thoughts on exactly this port for it, because I don't want a repeat of what happened with Persona 3 Reload. That was a little bit of a disaster launch, so they were able to get it at 60 FPS, but it's still 30 FPS handheld, so I'm hoping they can get it targeting 60 FPS in docked and handheld play, but maybe it seems like it's going to be 30 FPS handheld play and 60 FPS target dock, so we'll see about that. But we're also going to see about something that's going to be 60 FPS, because Square Enix has confirmed it, and that is Dragon Quest XI S on the Nintendo Switch 2. Square Enix has provided an update of info, including the frame rate and the resolution. Now, previously, we did get that there will be 2 graphical options included. The company previously confirmed that 2 graphical options will be included. Players can choose between different optimization modes, allowing them to prioritize graphics or performance. So with this, you're going to get a performance priority mode. Dragon Quest XI S has a frame rate of 60 FPS and 1080p resolution, and image quality priority mode, it's 30 FPS at 1440p. Now, Square Enix didn't touch on any of the differences when playing in docked and handheld modes. That said, the Nintendo Switch 2 screen maxes out at 1080p resolution, so you're probably going to get 1080p 60, or you're going to get maybe something underneath that, maybe 900p 60. We'll see if there's any DLSS or anything kind of going on there. Now, the previous information on this game about the save data, that still applies. Unfortunately, you cannot transfer save data from the Nintendo Switch 1 version to the Nintendo Switch 2. And this isn't a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game, so there's no upgrade path either. It's just a separate version. They're pulling like the Atlas thing, where it's like Persona 5 Royal on the PS4 and then Persona 5 Royal on the PS5. It's like the same game, but it's a different system, but you can't transfer over your save or anything like that. It's just a different SKU, which I hate that. I don't like it, and I don't know why they're doing that here. Square Enix has done some save file transfer stuff, but they're kind of bad on that when it comes to upgrading. They're like halfway. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, and this one is where it's not. There should have been an upgrade. There should have been a save file transfer. I don't know what's going on there. It's just Switch 1 to Switch 2. We've seen other developers do it. There must be something when it comes to the code, or when it comes to something to where they couldn't get that done, because I think that that really just kind of, I would say, discourages some people from playing the game or buying it because they can't continue their save if they dropped it. So that's very unfortunate, but at the same time, I'd rather have the game than not have it at all. So there's that. The game is $40, so it's not a full price game. It's not like a $50, $60, $70, or $80 game. It is only $40. So I think the value, if you're just buying it because you want to get the amount of content out of the game and play it in better performance anywhere that you want, I think that it's worth it for that $40. But it would have been a lot better of a deal if you can get it and of course get the upgrade going, transfer over your save file. Even if there was no upgrade, being able to transfer over your save file would have just been ideal. I can continue where I left off, but this point, I think that it definitely kind of pushes some people away from this release of the game. I'm pretty sure I'll check it out, even though I have like so many versions of Dragon Quest 11. I already have it on Switch 1, I have it on Xbox, I have it on PlayStation, like I have it on everything. And Dragon Quest 11 is awesome. It's such a good game. I have the original release on the PlayStation 4. I don't have the 3DS version though. I don't have that one, but I pretty much have all the other versions of the game. But I do think that people who do end up playing the game, you're gonna love it. Having the portable mode is going to be great because this game is a great portable style JRPG, turn-based one. So I think it's going to work out really well for the game and be a lot better quality than what we saw with the Nintendo Switch 1. So what do you think about everything that we talked about here? There's a lot of different information. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, peeps, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.